Now we're going to talk about the division of labor in marriages. And that involves some rethinking of care work, taking care of children, elders, others. Care work is any activity in which one person meets the needs of someone else, whether it's a spouse, partner, children, their parents, or other people who can't fully take care of themselves. So the movement of women, it's been into the labor force, creates what's been called a crisis of care, because traditionally society has relied on the labor of stay-at-home wives to do this care work. There's a growing body of research, theory, and advocacy on the topic of caring. So in terms of kind of breaking through the work-family boundary, what caregivers do should be thought of as work, but it isn't. You can ask a stay-at-home mom, do you work? And her reply, standardly, is no. Does she really work? Of course she does. Same would apply to a stay-at-home dad. Care work provides a publicly useful service as well as a necessary service in the family, private family. Caring labor is often underpaid, even when it's outside the home in the workforce, undervalued, and even demeaned relative to other kinds of work. It has been traditionally women's work. People who, for example, do childcare, work in nursing homes, etc., earn less. There is a wage penalty for choosing a job, for example, in childcare. And the reasons that caring work doesn't pay as much is because it's been women's work, and women have been identified with something lesser. There's a cultural bias against paying women as much as men. The labor that creates public goods, such as children, tends to be underpaid. It's difficult to stop people from free riding. We talked about free riding, benefiting from other people's labor without contributing in our first chapter. So labor that creates public goods tends to be underpaid. But many people find it satisfying to do that kind of work, and so may accept a lower rate of pay. We need to be thinking toward a new ethic of care. Some writers are urging the development of an ethic of care. People learning to value the caregiving that goes on in society, and probably the additional caregiving that ought to be going on in society. They see Americans as overvaluing independence and autonomy, undervaluing the interdependence of people and the caring that needs to go on. They see us needing a different balance than we now have between independence and valuing caring. So who's doing the caring work? There's a widespread wish for an egalitarian division of labor. Husbands and wives do the same. This would involve a major investment by each and being flexible and supporting of each other. What are the trends? As of 2000, a third of wives, when asked, report an equal division of labor. Data from time diary studies, you'll find it in your book, figure 8.2 on page 258, is interesting in that light. Now, as wives begin to earn, and also I have responsibility for a lot of domestic work. Now, social exchange theory would predict that as their earnings go up, they would be able to share the housework more. But husbands don't increase the total amount of time spent with children. They do change what they're doing and take more responsibility for routine care. So what happens? As the wife's income goes up, they do more purchasing of services, childcare, house cleaning, laundry maybe. As you'll see in your text, there seems to be about a 40-60 split, with the wives doing the greater amount. Wives have been found to spend a total of 5 more hours a week in all on everything at home than their husbands do. And wives have less leisure. That 5 hours is taken out of leisure that women might otherwise have. And wives' income pays for the services that substitute for her doing the housework. Now, what about satisfaction in marriage? When men do more housework and childcare, they report less satisfaction, but their wives report more. And there are some class differences we might note in how women feel about working for pay. At higher class levels, middle class and up, they work partially for fulfillment and not only for money. What about balancing work and family? Americans tend to be overworked and underworked. The college-educated salaried folks work longer hours. There's an incentive for employers to pressure for longer hours, an incentive to have more part-time workers among hourly workers, who are often not eligible for benefits. So longer for the middle-class jobs, kind of hanging on, and part-time, underemployed for other folks. What about when work interferes with family life? There's an increase in reported feeling of conflict between work and family. 34% of respondents have said some or a lot in 1977. 45% reported those in those categories in 2002. So an increase in tension between work and family that they experience. What are the ways that work interferes with family life? One is task size, which is mainly a problem for professional and managerial employees who work long hours. Very heavy demands on their time and energy, but family life also demands an unlimited commitment. Task stress, more likely to be found among less educated Americans who do physically difficult or maybe dangerous work, or who have little job security, or who work under close supervision without the ability to check in on their children by calling home. Not allowed. Task stress. So they may bring the stress home with them, kind of a spillover effect, the transfer of mood or behavior between work and home. This was found in a laboratory study of police officers. Okay, what are some ways this might be addressed? One that's been tried, families have tried, is non-standard work hours. Couples working different shifts. It helps with childcare. Somebody is pretty much always home. but they have less time as a couple together. When wives work a fixed night schedule, the risk of divorce increased. Now, single parents are finding childcare services at non-standard hours very difficult to find. Who will care for your child overnight? And children may be at risk of poor academic or emotional development when there's a lot of shuffling around from caregiver to caregiver, etc. Now, in this non-standard work hour category, something that benefits employers but not employees is happening rather widely, called efficient scheduling, which is efficient from the point of view of the employer. So very short notice of work schedule as the employer tries to gauge how many people he or she will need. A lot of variable part-time work, even canceling the shift if the volume is light and sending people home after they arrive. Having paid their transportation cost and their child care cost. Another that is found fairly widely, expecting an employee to be on call to come in 40 hours a week for a shift, despite the fact that this is a low-wage, part-time employment. Okay, let's look at what could be a responsive workplace. A work setting where job conditions are designed to allow employees to meet their family responsibilities more easily, with less stress. So what might that work? Flex time. That would be a policy that allows employees to choose within limits when they begin and end their workday, much more frequent for college-educated employees. Flexibility of place, being able to work from home, for instance, although you can't take care of little children and work at the same time. And flexibility of task, matching people to one or more of the set of tasks within that employment situation that allows them more flexibility and greater capacity to meet their child care and other responsibilities. Job sharing has been used in some places so that two people share one job. Both of them are part-time, but this allows greater flexibility in meeting family responsibilities than having a full-time job with 40 hours a week or more. Parental leave, time off from work to care for a child with the guarantee of one's job back upon return. The U.S. lags very far behind other countries in providing parental leave. The Family Medical Leave Act allows 12 weeks of unpaid leave for birth, adoption, foster care, or personal family illness. This is unpaid. It does guarantee the job back. Telecommuting, this is more like flexibility of place, doing work from home using electronic communication. The culture of a workplace may influence workers not to use family-friendly policies that they might, because the norm is of the fully committed worker. And when there's downsizing, you don't want to be violating any norms. You want to be seen as the best. Culture change would be required in our country for being a good parent and a good worker to be compatible. And thank you.